听力测验
1. 图片听解第一部分单选题。说明，请听语音播出的试题，根据内容在4幅图片中选出最符合题意的图片。
1.
What do you do when you really need to reflect on your life?
I like to go for a stroll on the trails near my house. Why do you ask?
I find myself in need of a quiet place to think lately. I've been so busy.
I hear you. My job really keeps me on my toes.
Me too. I feel like I'm always hustling through an airport to catch a flight.
Or shuffling between meetings at corporate offices.
Exactly. I barely have time to get a cup of coffee with friends or by myself for that matter.
Then you should come take a walk with me. It will really clear your mind.
Question.
Which of the following pictures represents the place the man goes when he needs to think?
Two.
Ian, I haven't seen you for so long. How have you been?
Not bad. I got a new job recently at an electronics company. I saw on Facebook you were doing some traveling recently.
Actually, I was working as a tour guide overseas for a while. I speak Spanish in addition to English, so I was taking British tourists on tours of the Costa del Sol.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I thought that maybe you were working as a travel agent or something.
I thought about doing that, but I found that I really like communicating with people and teaching them how to communicate.
That's wonderful.
So now I'm working as an English teacher for foreigners who have moved to the U.S. and want to learn the local language.
I imagine that must be very rewarding, both for you and for them.
Question.
Which of the pictures best corresponds to what the woman does for a living now?
Three.
Excuse me, do you speak English?
Yes, a little.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm new here in Paris, and I'm afraid I can't communicate in French very well yet.
It's no problem. How can I help you?
I'm a little lost. Can you give me directions to the Louvre?
Oh, that's easy. Just follow this street for 2 more blocks, turn right, and the museum will be on your left-hand side.
Thank you so much. You know, I tried asking for directions using the French I learned in school in Canada, but that just seemed to confuse people here.
Ah, that's because we speak a different dialect here.
Question.
Which of the following pictures corresponds best to the conversation?
Four.
Have you ever thought about what your goals are in life?
Sure, I think about it all the time.
So, what is it you would like to achieve?
Well, at first I really wanted to work in the film industry and write movie scripts.
Okay, and then what happened?
I found it wasn't really for me. Then I focused on fitness goals. I started rock climbing, and I even trained for a marathon.
In the end, what did you settle on?
I'd like to write great works of literature, I think.
Question.
Which of the photos best exemplifies what the man would like to do?
2. 图片听解第二部分多选题。说明，请仔细观察图片，并聆听试题，从听到的4个选项中选出最符合图意的2个答案。
1.
Which 2 of the following best describes the message of the poster? A. It's about figuring out your options. B. It's about being less decisive. C. It has to do with overcoming hardships. D. It has to do with living a poetic life.
Two.
Which two of the following statements are true about the sign? A. It features 4 distinct languages. B. It does not communicate effectively. C. It has a diverse array of dialects. D. It utilizes only a single language.
Three.
Which two statements about the couple in the photo are true? A. They are at a prominent landmark. B. They are posing for a passport photo. C. They are acting in an aggressive way. D. They are in continental Europe.
Four.
Which two of the following best describes this scene? A. It is spectacular. B. It's a series. C. It may trigger people. D. It features scenery.
3. 对答说明，请听语音内容，从4个选项中选出一个最适当的回应。
One.
Ultimately, what did you decide to do?
Two.
I'm going to college in the fall.
Three.
What are our options today?
Four.
What is your current location?
Five.
What is the biggest hardship you've ever faced?
Six.
This is a very diverse neighborhood.
Seven.
I predict that the Tigers will win the big game today.
Eight.
I would like to get a job in the academic field.
4. 简短对话单题说明，请听语音内容和相关的问题，从4个选项中选出一个最适当的选项。
One.
Congratulations on your perfect score on the English exam. What made you want to study the language?
I would like to run my own international company someday. As I'm sure you know, English is a prominent language of business communication around the world.
Yes, I'm sure this skill will only enhance your potential going forward.
That's what I'm hoping. I see it as my passport to success.
Question.
What made the woman want to study English?
Two.
Your girlfriend recently moved to the U.S. from Germany, right?
Yes, she's been here for a couple of months.
How do you two communicate?
We tend to utilize a mix of German and English.
Question.
How do the couple talk to each other?
Three.
What are you reading?
It's a book in which the narrator is an old man, recounting the days of his youth.
What does he have to say?
When he was young, he was inspired to become an artist by a teacher. His previous career path was that of a teacher, but he never regretted joining the art world.
Question.
Who are the speakers mostly talking about?
Four.
You look troubled. What seems to be the matter?
I've been dealing with a lot of inner turmoil lately.
May I ask what the cause is?
School will be ending soon, and that has triggered my anxiety about starting my career and my adult life.
Question.
What kind of problem is the woman dealing with?
5. 简短对话题组说明，请听语音内容和相关的问题，从4个选项中选出一个最适当的选项。
1.
Hi, I was wondering if you have any books available that can help me improve my English.
Let me see what we have in stock. It looks like our English studies selection is sold out at the moment.
Oh, that's too bad.
However, I see that one of our other locations has a diverse array of English learning options.
Oh, that's perfect. I want to improve my speaking ability, you see.
May I ask why?
I'm going to the UK to study next year, so I want to be as fluent as possible.
Might I suggest a language exchange with a native speaker? You can practice communicating with one another in your native tongues. That way you can each get better at speaking in a second language.
That's a great idea. I'll give that a try.
Question. How does the man suggest that the woman study?
Question. Why is the woman looking for an English textbook?
2.
What do you think the secret is to living life well?
In my mind, I think it's all about making sure you always have options in front of you.
You mean different things to do that you can choose from?
Exactly. You always want to have choices.
But what if you make a series of bad moves?
That's okay. You can always learn from your mistakes. The key is to be decisive.
You mean don't waste too much time thinking about what to do, just do it.
That's how I live my life. If I make a mistake, I learn something from it. But I work hard to make sure there are always different directions I can take in life.
I think that's great advice.
Question: What is the main theme of this conversation?
Question: What does the man say about the key to living life well?
6. 短文听解题组说明每两题为一题组，请先阅读试题本的题目及选项，然后听语音播出的内容，从4个选项中选出一个最适当的选项。
1.
请先阅读试题。
Tim Ferriss is definitely a man who has marched to the beat of his own drum in this life. In the early 2000s, he had a typical corporate job working at a sports nutrition company. The days were long, and he commonly worked 14 hours at a time. He was frustrated by the lack of free time, and a little murmur in his mind said that there had to be a better way. He took a 3-week vacation to Europe and later continued his travels. During that time, he developed his own system of checking emails only once per day and outsourcing various small tasks to virtual assistants. This way, he was able to work as few as 4 hours per week and still make a living. This fundamental change in lifestyle led to him writing a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. To date, the book has sold over 2 million copies and is a prime example of the fact that we shouldn't live to work, but work to live.
2.
请先阅读试题。
There are many who find success by taking the road less traveled. Take Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, for example. While attending Harvard University, one of the best institutes of higher learning in the world, he made the crucial decision to drop out and focus on his social networking site in San Francisco, California. This decisive move led to him becoming the world's youngest billionaire. Apple founder Steve Jobs, too, is depicted as a man who chose to forge his own trail. He started Apple computers in his garage, at home, rather than pursuing a college education. Now, he is no less than a legendary figure in the tech industry and a billionaire as well, though he passed away some years ago. Both of their stories prove that there is more than one way to find success in this world.
Three.
请先阅读试题。
What will the next dominant language of the world be? At least one person in the academic world, Dr. Jeffrey Gill, says that Chinese is set to rise as a prominent global language spoken outside China and Asia. There are some who say that Chinese is simply too difficult for non-speakers to learn. After all, it is a tonal language, and its written form comprises thousands of characters. But Gill asserts that the global usage of Chinese will be much like the global usage of English. Some who learn Chinese will speak and read and write it fluently. Others will be able to speak some and maybe read and write a little. And still others may have only a basic command of spoken Chinese. What's more, many countries such as Japan, Korea, and even the US already have millions of citizens who can speak Chinese. Time will tell if this rising trend really catches on.
Four.
请先阅读试题。
Australia was first settled by the Aborigine tribes thousands of years ago. In 1788, the first Westerners arrived on Australia's shores, establishing the colony of New South Wales. Those settlers came from the United Kingdom, and as they spread throughout the Australian continent, the form of English that they spoke began to diverge from that of their UK ancestors. As such, Australian English was recognized as being different from UK English by 1820. How did this dialect develop? It grew from the mingling of different varieties of English spoken by settlers from various regions of the British Isles that themselves already had different dialects, such as England, Ireland, and Scotland. As such, Aussie English has its own unique pronunciations, idioms, and grammar. For example, "She'll be right" is the uniquely Aussie way of saying that everything will be okay in the end.
7. 长篇听解说明每4题为1题组，请先阅读试题本的大纲或图表及选项，然后听语音播出的内容，可同步利用试题本上的大纲或图表，记录重要讯息与细节。此部分不计分。再根据语音播出的题目，从4个选项中选出一个最适当的选项。
1.
请先阅读试题。
You know what the hardest part of learning English is?
What's that?
It's always evolving. Did you know that the English dictionary can get as many as 1,000 new words added to it in a single year?
Really? That sounds almost impossible to keep up with. Why does that happen?
It's because English is always changing to suit whatever is happening in the world at any given time. As trends and topics change, we get new words, abbreviations, and terms.
For example?
Okay, let's take a look at the year 2020 when the pandemic struck. The people who decide what gets added to dictionaries noticed a few new terms, such as self-isolate, for example, which had never been used before.
Oh, right. I never thought of that. A lot of those terms, such as contactless, were born directly because of the pandemic.
So, lexicographers, those are the people who write dictionaries, came up with definitions for those terms and put them in.
I guess the phrase work from home and abbreviations like PPE for personal protective equipment must have made the cut too.
They sure did. Usually, there are around 500 new words added each year on average.
I see that some words, which were not considered actual words before, get added because they fall into common use.
That's true. Take the word truthiness, for instance. That wasn't considered a real word until 2020. Now it's right there in the dictionary, so nobody can say it's not a word anymore.
That's fascinating. I wonder who created the most new words in the history of English.
They say William Shakespeare is the most prominent creator of new words. He's credited with adding more than 1,700 words to the English dictionary alone. Question. In an average year, how many words get added to the English dictionary? Question. What caused a lot of new words to be added to the dictionary in 2020?
Question. Who is credited as adding the most new words to the English dictionary? Question. What is true of the word truthiness before the year 2020?
Two.
请先阅读试题。
Do you ever think of making a big change in your life?
What kind of change do you mean?
I mean something fundamental, like quitting your job to start your dream career, or even moving cities to a place you always wanted to go.
Oh, I think everyone has those thoughts of doing something spectacular from time to time. I think we all have an inner struggle wherein we try to find a balance between doing what is safe and what is unsafe, or between the known and the unknown.
I know what you mean. It's like there's a narrator in my head telling my life story, but what she is saying and what I'm actually doing are two totally different things.
Okay, well, let me ask you a series of questions. First of all, what is it you would really like to do right now?
To be honest, I'd like to go back to college and study to become a veterinarian. I love animals, but when I was younger, my parents wanted me to join the family business. So, to please them, that's what I ultimately did.
And now, what stands in your way of pursuing your true passion?
I've had a few hardships the last few years. The business has been struggling, so I don't have much savings to pay for school. In addition, my father became ill recently, and I've had to take on more responsibilities at our shop.
I see. To your credit, I think you've handled both situations very well.
Thank you. It just seems that the timing never really works out. I just can't seem to make that crucial decision to go back to school, in other words.
I'll let you in on a little secret. There is no such thing as the perfect time for anything. If you really want to do something, often you just have to take a deep breath and do it.
Even if it means embracing uncertainty?
Especially if it means embracing uncertainty. Remember, you only have one chance to do what you really want in this life.
Thank you. This is a prime example of why I often come to you for advice. Question. Which of the following best describes the overall tone of this conversation? Question. What stopped the woman from pursuing her dream career?
Question. According to the speakers, what struggle do most people have? Question. Which of the following best describes the relationship between the two speakers?
This is the end of the listening comprehension test. 听力测验结束。